Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Assalamu alaikum, Osio, Bonjour. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live and in full effect. Thank you for joining me. I hope you can hear me. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead, give that thumbs up, hit the notification bell. We want to be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. I appreciate your support. Leave a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. Let's see. This is my first video of the Gregorian calendar shift. I'm not saying New Year because, as most of us know, the New Year actually starts in the spring when there's rebirth, when nature is blooming. All right. So once again, thank you for joining me. Let's jump into it. I want to run some concepts by you. I want to try and attempt to get the wheels in your mind turning. All right. I want to speak about memory. All right. I want to ask you about memory. How important is memory? How important is memory to you? Is it very important? Is it not important at all? Is it just something to think about from time to time? Is it useful? It really encompasses most things of existence. How you feel about yourself, past, future, present, has a lot to do with memory. I want to speak about a few types of memory that we have, and most people might not really think about, when you really break it down. Like selective memory. What exactly is selective memory? We may have heard that used before. Selective memory seems more voluntary, something that you choose to remember. What about repressed memories? Repressed memory, a memory that has been pushed to the back of your mind, to the bottom of the pile, forgotten, whether involuntary or voluntary. I believe this is more of an involuntary type of memory. What about muscle memory? Have you thought about muscle memory? Most athletes, sportsmen, fighters, all right, UFC martial artists, even warriors, people who have been in combat, can tell you the importance of muscle memory. All right, having to do with things that's like reflexes, response time, your body just acting because you have done an exercise or you've done drills over and over and over, that your body just responds without your mind really telling it to. All right, it's muscle memory. What about photographic memory? Seems to be more of a rare occurrence. There's different levels of photographic memory, but a perfect photographic memory, I would say the rarest, often wielded by those on a genius level, even past higher level genius. All right, photographic memory, being able to see an image exactly, to see an image in your mind exactly as you saw it previously, no matter how long ago. What about ancestral memory? We're really starting to break down a lot of the stigmas or the walls, the concepts of ancestral memory. We're just now starting to talk about that. Experiences our ancestors may have went through as a collective, passed on through DNA sequencing, traumas, experiences passed down through the DNA through a ancestral memory. These are concepts that are just now really coming to the forefront of science. I think that's very important, ancestral memory. What about false memory? Maybe like an implanted memory, maybe an illusion. When I think of false memory, I think of a term I've heard or a phenomena that has swept the internet, and it is called the Mandela effect. So, if you haven't heard about the Mandela effect, I kind of want to go into it just a little bit, but you can check online, do your own research, and figure out exactly what the Mandela effect is. And there's plenty of videos with, I would say, memories of things of the past that it seems a lot of us in older generations, millennials, Gen X, before, things seem to have changed than how we remember them in the past collectively. It has to do with the Mandela effect, or it's called the Mandela effect. Now, something else is collective memory, and that has a lot to do with the Mandela effect. Memory in a collective. What do we all remember? What do many of us remember collectively? Was it real? Has it been changed? Has it been altered? As you get older, you start to realize memories are very precious. Very precious, because as things change, you can remember how things were before. Good times, bad times, shared experiences. And it's sort of like time traveling. If you ever speak to an elder and they tell you a story, the picture is so clear in their mind that they pretty much go back in time as they're telling you the memories that they had as a child or experience they went through many, many years ago. And they remember it so well, so vividly. We may have older family members who tell us stories about the past, their experiences, and it seems like uncle or auntie is always telling the same story. Grandpa, granddad, grandma always seem to be telling the same story of the good old days, how it used to be. All right? Memories become very precious. And dealing with the Mandela effect, it seems some memories that we all feel we shared collectively have been altered or have been changed in some way, shape, or form. Very interesting. What about permanent memory? Is there such thing? Are memories really so, they seem very liquid, but can they be so solidified that it becomes a permanent memory, unable to be forgotten, unable to be erased from one's mind? Reminds me of a movie I seen years ago with Sandra Bullock. I believe it was called Premonition. Well, a woman on a plane had a child, and the child goes missing, and everyone on the plane says, "You never came with a child, you never had a child." But this woman swear she remembered that she had a child that was with her. The child was taken. But the experiment was, if everyone around you tells you something that you know to be untrue, and they're all on the same accord, will you forget? Will you repress that memory? Will you keep fighting for a memory? It's called Premonition with Sandra Bullock, I believe. Very interesting movie, very, very interesting film. what about forgetting? Is forgetting something involuntary or is it voluntary? I would say both. Some people voluntarily forget things. Some people involuntarily forget things. Maybe it goes to how important said memory is. What regard you hold it in your mind, whether or not it should be remembered. Like, think about in school, studying for a test. You remember most of the things you studied for the whole week before the test. You take the exam, you take the test. After that, you forget most of the things you studied for because it was clearly just useful for said test. I think that's very important. Is forgetting involuntary or voluntary? More so. Maybe both. Do we ever truly forget something? It's another question I want to ask. See, I want to get the wheels turning in your mind. These are concepts I think about to help expand my consciousness. Do we ever truly forget something? Can it just be completely erased from your mind, like a computer, like a file, like a save file? Very interesting. What do you feel is more important? Mental memory or physical memory or cellular memory? What do you hold in higher regard? Like muscle memory, cellular memory, as far as the DNA that we may not have access to, or it may just be something in our genes that we innately respond to, we innately interact or react to because something in our ancestral past. Like maybe like a great fear, as in cellular memory, or fear of a sound, a loud noise, which is across the board universal, being afraid of a loud noise. Very interesting. Here's another concept. Actively trying to remember versus actively trying to forget. Think about it. Many of us rack our brains trying to remember something that we forgot. Oh, it was right on the tip of my tongue. Others rack our brains trying to forget something, a trauma, an experience, something unpleasant. These are both tactics. These are both mental exercises for your mind. I really want you to think about that. Actively trying to remember versus actively trying to forget. Have you heard of the Akashic record? Have you heard of this term before? Have you ever heard it used? I would say in a nutshell, it can be described as a universal collective memory. And that's the Akashic record. Basically, everything that there ever was, or something like a download. This term has been used recently as far as people receiving downloads from the universe, downloads from their ancestors, downloads from the cosmos. It's like you're just struck with an idea or an inspiration without even trying. Or maybe you were just in the right state of mind. Maybe you're just on that right frequency. Maybe you're vibrating at the right frequency to receive said download, to receive said information from the Akashic record, from the universal collective memory. Now, there have been so-called prophets of our times and before our times that have been that have been said to, who were sent to affect the Akashic record, to add to the Akashic record. Yahshua ben Yosef, or Yahshua the Christ, so-called Jesus Christ, was said to have been sent to effectively change the Akashic record, to add to it. As far as man is immortal, man can never die, we can have everlasting life. These concepts of being forgiven of sins, or being one with God, being able to speak with him without having the assistance of a Pharisee or a priest, someone who in ancient times were said to have been directly connected to the Most High. It says Yahshua was sent here to effectively change the Akashic record. Do you believe that? Just a concept. Other prophets as well. Confucius, Buddha, Noble Drew Ali, Muhammad. Peace and love to all the divine prophets who have been sent here to effectively change and uplift and raise the vibration of fallen humanity. Here's another question for you. Does it bother you that there are memories inside your mind that you cannot access? Now this is something that often racks my brain. That there are memories inside of my mind or inside of my heart that I cannot access at will. I feel we all might, or many of us might, have the same experience. And on those lines, if there are files or memories inside of our minds that we cannot access at will, do you have techniques for remembering? Have you developed any techniques for remembering? Are there any specific techniques that you have worked out in your own psyche that helps jog your memory, that helps you remember something that was right on the tip of your tongue? There are definitely techniques. Definitely. But to each their own. What works for me may not work for you. Have you ever heard of the concept of a mind castle for computer? I first learned of this concept watching, I believe it was a Sherlock Holmes film. I want to say it was the one with Robert Downey Jr. But he was after, I guess, a criminal or a target. Sherlock was. He was after this person. And I remember at the end of the film, the person told him that they would share whatever information they had, that it was kept safe somewhere. And the entire time, this safe place was in the mind of said target. It wasn't a physical place where these documents or files were held, but yet they were so intrinsically tucked away in his mind that he could willingly retrieve them or forget them at will, pretty much like a computer. Or in that film, it was called The Mind Castle, and that always stuck out to me. That actually solidified itself inside my mind once that concept graced my ears. Very important. I really just wanted to make you think. Like the brother Dan Calloway says, I really want the wheels to turn inside your mind. I really want to help you expand your way of thinking as a collective, as a whole. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live and in full effect. Have a good one. Study, 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 Moors. Peace.